good to go. We are, aren't we? Yeah, we're good to go. How about some show dirt?
Wow, man. Are you kidding me? Look at that.
One of the things that we get a lot of questions about is when we taped a lot of shows, cracking the tube, right? Number one, and I'm being dead serious about this, that to me is like one of the most medieval weapons for bass fishing since I was, I don't know, like 10 years old.
Stone cold Italian by the grace of God.
They were the old Bobby Garland tubes. Some of you old timers know that.
Biggin.
As the years went on, tubes just got better.
Look at that. A lot of people think that a coffee tube is for smallmouth. Nice largies on that thing. I mean, never had them hooked. Look at how pretty.
They got salt in them, they got scent in them, and then colors got better. And really growing up, that was probably the bait that I caught more bass on than anything. But where I get a lot of questions is, what are you doing when you're cracking a tube, right? And if you look through a bunch of the shows that we've done, number one, very powerful for largemouth, very powerful for smallmouth. But the whole thing about cracking a tube, I'm wanting that bait to dart, okay? I want that bait to dart and scoot. If you look at a crawdad, he bounces about 4 to 6 inches. He doesn't bounce 3 to 4 feet. And a lot of people, where you go wrong cracking a tube is they'll crack it on a tight line. Well, that bait's going 2 to 4 feet. The whole thing about cracking a tube is you're bouncing your slack. You're not bouncing a tight line.
Wow. Stay hooked.
When you're just bouncing your slack, you're bouncing your slack and you rarely feel a bite.
That's a strong fish, man.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's a smallmouth show with Zaldain, where we caught so many smallmouth, or all the way back in the day where I think we started that show here in the barn, catching largemouth doing it. It's powerful for everything. Largemouth, smallmouth, walleye, and you rarely feel that bite. Your rod just starts to load, and here's the best way to put it, just crack faster. And if you notice, when I load that rod up, that drag squeals. And what that does, I use straight fluorocarbon for this. I don't use braid. I think braid makes the tube too reactionary, too active. If I did that on braid, that tube would be on the bottom like a machine gun, dunk, dunk, dunk. That straight fluorocarbon, it dulls it a little bit, and not only that, when I load that rod up, it almost acts like a shock absorber. The rod that I use, generally 7 foot and over, straight 8-pound fluorocarbon. When you're cracking a tube, generally a 1/4 ounce, 5/16, 3/8, maybe up to a half. But I think one of the probably the best sizes to crack with is generally a 5/16. That's probably the one I use the most. But one of the biggest keys, just bounce your slack. Just bounce your slack. Don't bounce on a tight line. And when your rod starts to load, just crack faster. How about that right there for some show dirt? Show dirt.
Yeah.
We're done.
That's awesome.
Hang on right here.
And do me a favor, in all honesty, if you want to hear more show dirt, if you want to hear more tips, and we're going to be doing a lot of these, kind of going in some of the older shows, like and subscribe and click that notification, okay? That's why anytime we put something up that's new, it's going to come right to you. Yes, the internet.